Guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look at a game that I had in the Izumo, the Tier 9 Japanese battleship. I'm divisioned up with one of my buddies from APOC, Halcyon, and the other from BIA, ElasticSpyder. They're playing in the Fletcher and Utiloi respectively, and we're playing some domination here on the map Loop. So the Izumo here in World of Warships, again, it's the Tier 9 Japanese battleship. It comes after the very stellar Amagi, a ship that is not only great for ranked, but also plays a heavy part in the Supremacy League, which I'm a part of, and also in ranked battles whenever they had it at Tier 8. And, of course, the Yamato at Tier 10, everybody's favorite battleship because of the troll guns, the amazing armor, and just the aurora of it being, you know, one of those mystical ships from the Japanese. The Izumo, however, is... It's an interesting ship, quite frankly. Looking at it right here from the bow-on perspective, it is rather ugly, and I have to say that the superstructure is a very peculiar design. It may look like a certain house from a cartoon show that runs on Nickelodeon, for those of you that know what I'm talking about. The Izumo it's okay. It's not great by any means, and it's not bad. This ship used to be rather poor indeed last year, way early last year, right when I actually started playing this game, at least compared to the Iowa before German battleships came out. And the armor-piercing shells used to be extremely poor, at least on the stock hull. This thing doesn't have the best AA. Fully upgraded, I think you can get a rating of 80-something, but that's a bit misleading because generally speaking, you don't go with an AA build on the Izumo, you go with the secondaries. You can get the 10.6 kilometer range that you're accustomed to on ships like the Bismarck and the Friedrich de Grosse, so that's always good, but you don't have as many of them. And for those of you that might be aware, the more observant of you, I am not running the C hull on the Izumo. I haven't unlocked enough XP for it yet, so I'm only on the B hull. You do get 8 of the secondary guns on either side of the ship, the medium caliber ones, that is. And then you get one of those big, ridiculous 155mm turrets in the back you can see just behind the superstructure. So the secondary armament is all right. It's not as good as the Germans. It's definitely not as good as a Bismarck, and certainly not as good as a Friedrich de Grosse. But what you trade for in a little bit of secondary armament is the performance of your main battery guns. Now, I do not run the accuracy equipment piece on this thing. Again, I prefer to go with the secondaries to get the range out and the reload and all that good stuff. So the accuracy on these guns is actually rather poor, and that might be contrary to what plenty of people think, that the Izumo, at least from a raw number standpoint, does indeed have a pretty good dispersion value. But you're going to see here plenty of salvos in this game, which are going to be rather head-scratching, to say the least, especially with this one right here. Get the 2 forward guns out, and when I zoom in, look at that dispersion. That's ass. That was a ginormous box with 1 shell to the bottom left. I understand that battleship RNG in general isn't the best, but this thing has to get in close. And the problem with this ship is that it doesn't have as many secondary guns as the German ones, so you're not going to be able to kill stuff as quickly with your secondaries as you would in those German behemoths. And then, of course, the accuracy on the guns is a little left to be desired, at least if you do not run the accuracy. I hit 2 shells right there on the enemy Benson that moved into Bravo, and I do manage to take him out with the secondaries and pick up Close Quarters Expert and the First Blood. But the problem with the Izumo, where I'm getting at here with this in the meta today, is it really does rely on what you're seeing right now, sitting in smoke and using the great bow armor of the ship to be able to move into advantageous positions to be able to deal damage. This thing still takes heavy amount of damage on a broadside. It does not have the turtleback armor like the Germans, so the bow is your best option at being able to bounce enemy shells. Speaking of shells, 1 falls in on the Neptune for a Citadel. It has less Citadel damage than the American Iowa, only 12,900, but still getting a Citadel is obviously a very good thing. So I'm up to 20,000 points of damage, 1 ship destroyed, of course, and we are leading the game here, about to capture objective Bravo. We do have Charlie, and the enemy team does have Alpha. Unfortunately, someone on the cap does take a hit. Get my 2 forward guns out on the Grosse first, and you can see there the dispersion was just exceptionally poor. I still managed almost 10,000 points of damage with 3 of the 6 shell hits, but that accuracy, though, it'll be a reoccurring theme here. But anyway, what I was getting back to, the meta, this thing has very poor concealment. And due to the fact that in the high tiers a lot of this is stagnant play, you have to put yourself into really compromising positions to get the most out of this ship, and you don't have, like I said, the turtleback armor like the FDG does to be able to tank those shells. Get a full broadside here on the enemy North Carolina. He is giving me more or less a broadside. He disappears, gets some good dispersion right there, and there we go. 2 citadels, 2 penetrating hits. I do almost 40,000 points of damage when his health comes back about 35k there, so a very solid salvo. Up to 64,000 points of damage. Now my secondaries are taking some shots there at that enemy Z-52, the tier 10 German destroyer. Looking for some shots here now. Unfortunately, the island is a little bit in the way, but of course my secondaries, I am within range to be able to shoot, hopefully, over the islands. But again, you don't have the speed nor the number of secondaries that the Germans do, so you're not going to be putting out as much hurt. So now I'm going to back up here, looking to get a full broadside against this Grosser Kurfürst. You can see the angle that I'm presenting right here. To be able to shoot all of your guns, if I were to take some hits, it wouldn't be citadels at this angle, but it would definitely be some heavy penetrating damage, like I do there to that Currywurst, over 12,000 points of damage. So very good stuff here, up to 77, make that 78,000 now. My destroyers, quite a few of them on the team, now there's 4 instead of 5, have been doing a very good job of keeping me smoked up. And this is the thing, I told them at the beginning of the game that I was going to push into B, so all I need is support in dealing with the other destroyers, and I'll be able to get some very good shots downrange, and I have so thus far. But again, this is more of an outlier and an aberration, so to speak, than something that is the norm. Get some very good dispersion, though, right there against the enemy Amagi. Shells fallen. There we go. Another Citadel. 25,000 points of damage, and I'm already up to 103,000 points of damage so far in this game. So I am already having a stellar performance here. My secondaries are now going down range against the enemy Minotaur, and I managed to do a pretty decent hit there along the top part of his, I guess, the deck, where it meets the superstructure. Now looking for another broadside here on the enemy Amagi. Unfortunately, he's turning away just enough so that when my shells impact, they will hit the 65mm plate, and all 4 bounce off the side of the hull and off the side. There's that little spaced armor, I suppose, torpedo belt, that really does a good job at that angle of bouncing any shells, even up to Yamato ones. So it's 470 to 395. I'm pushing up here farther into B. I am detected, of course. The detection range on this thing is absolutely massive. I get another broadside out there on the enemy Minotaur. He's paying attention, however, and he immediately turns back to starboard. And I believe, yes, indeed, all of my shells do manage to miss. The Grozhevoy, the tier 10 Soviet destroyer, the rather new one, is now off to my starboard side. So my secondaries are now going to open up on him. And you can see I'm landing some secondary hits from time to time. But again, it's nothing in the... I'm not going to be delivering them as fast or as furious as the German ones. Looking for a broadside here. I see where the friendly shells impact, so then I decide to blind fire into the smoke, and I managed to hit 3 overpens and pick up the Confederate already, only 7 minutes into the game, so a very solid performance here. But now you're going to see how the Izumo stacks up to concentrated fire, of course, when it is not in smoke. And I gotta say that it does tank relatively well from this kind of angle, but I will slowly and steadily lose my hit points. We are in complete control of the game. The enemy team has been pushed back into the, I suppose, the western half of the map. I get my 2 forward guns out at the enemy Neptune. The shells are falling in on the target. I take a zoom back in, and unfortunately, I don't get a Citadel as I land 3 penetrating hits, but nonetheless, still about 13,000 points of damage done, so very good stuff right there. And, yeah, now a Z-52 appears at 5.5 kilometers away from me, so I'm trying to swing into position to get my secondaries on the side, but you can see here that, just really don't have the rate of fire with these secondaries. Again, I don't have the ship fully upgraded. I do take one right on the side. Unfortunately, the torpedo belt was not enough to protect me. Will the secondaries get the kill? Almost. And unfortunately, they do not. My buddy Spider manages to take out that Z-52, so kudos to him. I believe that's the 2nd kill of the game. But you can see there, again, with the B hull, the secondaries do not have that glorious rate of fire. And would have possibly been able to get the kill with the C hull, but that's okay. Looking for some long-range shots here at the North Carolina. Get my full broadside out. Shells are on the way. His shells come in at a decent angle, and you can see there. Took about 5,000 damage. That angle, not too bad whatsoever. The shells falling on the NorCal, and I actually bounced 2 and only have 1 overpen for 1290. So at this point, I'm actually taking some armor piercing from that Grozhevoy that's over on the right. And you can see there over 3,000 damage a pop for every salvo. Almost 3,000 damage a pop that comes in. So I certainly am taking some heavy AP damage. And now I definitely need to use my damage control ability to get some health back. 133,000 points of damage done with 11:15 to go in the game. At this point, the enemy team, it's only a matter of time, until we do indeed win this game. Now looking for a shot here on the Minotaur. This is the guy that I was hunting for. I'm now trying to swing my third turret into play. You can see here how much of a broadside you do have to open up to use it. And his shells are impacting me at the front of the bow, taking about 2,000 damage a pop. But I get a full broadside out on that Minotaur, and this is every battleship's wet dream. Boom, there we go. 34,000 points of damage done. Double Citadel, 4 overpens. Pick up the high caliber and earn the devastating strike. I'm down to 12,000 hit points, but that is a-okay because that was totally worth it. Anytime you can find a Minotaur like that, yeah, you're going to be one happy man indeed. I take a couple hits there, probably from the North Carolina, down to about 10,000 hit points, but that is okay because I still feel comfortable with the armor of the ship being able to hold up. I'm now looking for some shots here at the North Carolina. He is rather bow on. Get the shots out. And once again, you're going to see here the dispersion of the ship. It certainly is not the best, but I do manage to land a couple shells that hit the superstructure. Overpens, that is, for 2,500 points of damage. So what have you seen in this replay? What am I getting at here? Well, this ship is heavily dependent on division play. I suppose that's the best thing that I can say here. If you have destroyers that are smoking up for you, or if you have good cruiser support that are able to take care of the enemy cruisers and destroyers, then you certainly will be a-okay. But playing by yourself, this is a ship that I definitely recommend not to do so. Dispersion's awful on that salvo, but I managed to take out the North Carolina with 1 penetrating hit. My third ship destroyed in the game, and 172,000 points of damage done so far. So yeah, this thing definitely struggles by itself, again, due to the fact that it has very horrific concealment. The guns are pretty decent, the armor is pretty good. The AA, though, like I said earlier, is very mediocre for Tier 9. It certainly pales in comparison to a Missouri and an Iowa. So yeah, this ship definitely excels with division play, and I really only play it when I am indeed playing with my buddies, so that's something to keep note of. Obviously, you can't play with your buddies all the time. Sometimes you'll have to take it out for a spin on your own, but it's something that I definitely don't recommend. I am getting shot at by the Friedrich de Grosse from about 20 kilometers away, but I am angled rather nicely, and if his shells do impact me, they have really no chance of doing any significant damage, and you heard the splashes as they landed off the hind quarter of my ship. Take a little bit of damage there from the Amagi, but nothing too serious. Get a nice broadside out. He's at 21,000 hit points, so we'll see if we're going to be able to do some decent damage to him. Shells falling in on the target, and nope, there's the troll armor on the Amagi once again. And this is something that a lot of people don't see the reason to play really with the Izumo. A lot of people just save up their free XP from the Amagi to go straight to the Yamato, because the Amagi can do a lot of what the Izumo does. It still has a potent secondary battery, and it has even more 16-inch guns, albeit in a much different turret layout. And yeah, a lot of people just don't like going to the Izumo. So I know that it's something that I just have to stress. I really do have to stress it. It's a tough ship to play on your own. And I know I've been beating a dead horse here for the majority of this replay, but I really do have to say that is the case. Not saying you can't get good games in it, but this is certainly a ship that is not noob-friendly. Alrighty guys, taking a look at the post-battle results, 745,000 credits received and about 9,500 total XP. This was the first win of the day. Close Quarters Expert, First Blood, Confederate, Dreadnought, High Caliber, and Devastating Strike. 172,000 damage done in less than 12 minutes, a very solid DPM, off of 46 target hits with the shells, 6 citadels, 1 plane shot down, 3 ships sent to the bottom, 27 secondary hits, and 1 assisted base capture. Taking a look at the team score, 2,530 base XP, easily tops on the leaderboard. So overall, a very solid performance in the Izumo, one of my better ones that I've had thus far, but certainly something that it does take quite a bit of work to do in this ship. So don't put it off. It is a ship you can do well in, but I just really feel in the current meta that the Iowa, the Missouri, and the Friedrich de Grosse are certainly better than this Japanese behemoth, but it's certainly a ship that you can still do well in. If you, again, go for a secondary build, go for as much heal as you can get, definitely get Superintendent, and just try to wither the storm, hopefully with division mates giving you smoke and support. With that all being said, the Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships signing off. Please like, comment, and possibly subscribe to the channel. All of it is very much appreciated, and have a great day.